Okay. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about external tables in Snowflake. So what is external table? What is the advantage of external table? How to create an external table? Okay. And how to build views on external tables. Sorry. So we will see all these things, theory and both practical. Okay. So first, what is external table? Okay. So just by looking at the name itself, you can say it's a external table. It's a table not inside the Snowflake. It's a table not stored in the Snowflake storage area. Okay. It's a kind of table available in the external storage providers like Amazon, Google, or Azure. Okay, so let's see. Snowflake external tables allow you to query the files stored in the external stage like a regular table. That means without moving the data from files to Snowflake tables. So as of today, we have seen some files in the AWS S3 buckets, right? So I don't want to load the tables into the Snowflake staging area. But if I want to query those files, is there any way? Okay, is there any way? So without storing the files into Snowflake staging tables, can we query those files? So if it is a single file, we can query still by using a select $1, $2 from that stage, we can do. But there are multiple files. Okay, multiple files and multiple. I want to combine those files and write queries on by joining those files. Is it possible? No. So that's why we go for external tables. So whenever we create one external table on one stage object, okay, so we can easily read the data from those files by using simple select query. That means I'm going to create external table on the files available on the external storage providers. Okay, so here what happens, external tables access the files stored in the external stage area such as Amazon S3 or GCP bucket or Azure blob storage. Okay, so based on the cloud storage we are using, so we can create a stage object over that. Okay, and we can build a external table on those files. So we can build single external table on multiple files also. Suppose I have employee file, there are 10 files, not only a single file, but I can create only one external table on all the employee files, and I can query the data from all 10 files. Okay, so I can see, I can view, I can use the data. Okay, so external table stores metadata about these data files. So how this will happen? So there should be something link, right? So these external tables will not store the data from the files, but it will store the metadata about these data files. Okay, so whenever we fire a query on this external table based on this metadata, it will pull the record from the file and it will display. Okay, so it stores the metadata like value. That means we'll see this. Okay, what is a value? We'll see this value. It's a complete record. It will store, and the file name and the file row number. Okay, so it stores three values. We'll see this in the next slide in detail. So along with the files details, it stores three more metadata fields like value, the file name, and row number. Based on these fields, it will fetch the data from underlying files, and it will display to the users. Okay, so external tables are read only. Therefore, no DML operations can be performed on them. So they are read only. That means we can just select the data, we can view the data. Okay, and we can view it for queries. We can use it in queries, like for if you want to join multiple files, you can join. So if you want to apply any group by functions, you can do. Okay, everything you can do, but only selecting the data, viewing the data. You cannot perform insert, delete, update operations on the uh, external tables, because you cannot insert the data into the source files, right? So that's why external tables are read only. They don't support any DML operations. but we can use external tables for query and join operations. So if I want to see the data from multiple files, okay, I can build joins, okay, and I can put where classes, okay. I can do anything like a table. I can operate that external table. I can write any kind of SQL statements over those external tables. And even we can create views, secured views and materialized views against those external tables. So if I want to share the data to any other user, and but I don't want to store the data in the Snowflake, so how can we do? Okay, so we can create a external table over the external stage files and build a views, okay, over that external table. So whenever you fire that view, whenever you run that view, okay, what it will do, it will go to the external table, and in turn external table will bring the data from the external stage files. Okay. Querying data from external tables is likely slower than querying database tables, obviously, right? So our database tables are internal tables, like they are stored in the Snowflake. Okay, but whenever you want to fetch the data from external storage, definitely your query takes somewhat longer time. It's not like too much difference, but it takes uh, little slower. They are little slower than the actual database tables. Okay, so the biggest advantage of this external table is you can analyze the data without storing it into Snowflake. Okay, so I don't want to. So at the start of the project, I want to do some analytics. Okay, I don't want to bring all the data and load it into Snowflake. It's a waste of storage, right? Before loading itself, I want to analyze some data. What are all the data I need to bring? Okay, so what are all the filters I have to mention? So what are all the fields only? Suppose there are hundreds of fields in the files. What are the fields I required for my business operation? So if I want to do this kind of analysis, I can simply create external tables over those stage files, and I can do all my operations, right? So the biggest advantage of external table is we can analyze the data without storing into Snowflake. Okay. So this is external table, and external table store below metadata information, the value. Okay, so the first one is value. Value is nothing but it stores complete record. How it stores? So we have seen a variant type, right? So while processing the semi-structured data, so we were storing entire file into one variant field. Like that, here the data type of this value field is a variant. It stores the entire record. Suppose there are 100 records in my file. When I create an external table over that file, there will be 100 rows. Okay, every row will be stored in this one field only, instead of 10 fields. Suppose if I have 10 fields in the table, all the 10 fields will be stored in this variant type only. We'll see this. Okay, don't confuse now. Okay, we'll see this how it will happen, how entire row will be stored in the variant type. Okay. Okay, so there is one more metadata field, like metadata file name. Suppose I have 10 files, not only a single file, 10 files or 20 files. I have created one external table on those files. So whenever I'm fetching the data, okay, along with the data, if I want to know from which file I am bringing the data, okay, suppose there are more than 10 files, and there are millions of records stored in those 10 files. I want to know from which file exactly I'm bringing that record. So we can use this field, metadata file name. Okay, so whenever we fetch this along with the actual fields, it will display from which file it is getting the extracting that record and displaying. It will show. So it will, this metadata field will store the actual file name. That means file name in the external storage providers like S3 or Azure Blob Storage or GCP. Okay, and the last one is metadata file row number. Okay, it's a column that shows the row number of each record in a staged data file. So whenever the data is staged in the files, right? So external files, every record will be associated with one row number. So whenever we create external table on that stage file, even that row number it will store. This sectional table will store is going to store that file row number. Okay, so these are the three fields. Okay, these two are very important. Okay, especially the value is important because we create our external table based on this field only. Okay, and uh, so metadata file name is also somewhat important. Whenever we want to know the exact file name, so we can fetch the file name by using this column metadata file name. Okay, so now how to create external table. Okay, so there are some steps to create external table. First of all, there should be a storage integration object created. That is mandatory, right? So the storage integration between your external storage provider and Snowflake. After that, what you have to do, you have to create a file format object. This is not mandatory, but this is the best practice. Okay, and then create a stage object referring to that cloud storage location. Okay, we did this already. So the same two steps. Then we have to create external table. Okay. So you already aware of these two steps, how to create a file format object and how to create a stage object. Okay. So by using that URL and by using that S3 integration, okay, so you can create the stage object. Then you can create the external table over that stage object. We'll see in practical how we do this. This note I already mentioned. If there are multiple files of same pattern, suppose I have employee files, okay, so we can just create only one external table. It can store the details of all similar files. Okay, I can simply mention a pattern of files like employee 1, employee 2, employee 3. There are so many files. I can simply mention the pattern employee. Okay, then the one external table can get the details from multiple files, multiple similar files. Okay, where the pattern is matching. So this is how we create external tables. Okay, we'll see this in practical how we are going to do this. And this is the syntax for creating external tables. Okay, so create external table, table name. Okay, columns. So list of the columns we have to specify and with the location. Okay, so location means the external stage object you have to mention. So we mention like whenever we want to list the files from this one, right? What we write the command list at the rate the stage name, right? So this is the location. That means the external stage location. So we have to mention this location with location, and we have to mention the file format object name. Okay, file format equals to our file format object name. We have to mention. Otherwise, you can simply mention the file format also. If you are not creating the file format object, you can create the file format itself here. Okay, so this is the syntax. It's a simple syntax. Create external table, create external table, table name, and we have to specify the columns. Okay, with location equals to, we have to mention that the stage name, and file format, the file format object name we have to mention. If you see one example here, okay, create or replace external table sample external. Okay, so create or replace external table. I'm giving the name as sample external, and here this is important. How you mention the metadata is important. Okay, so suppose I have multiple columns in the table in the external stage file. Okay, so how to mention that? Suppose id is my first field in the file. Okay, so id I'm specifying one data type for that as. Okay, so from where you have to bring this? Okay, so you bring it from C1 column. That means value colon C1. Okay, so we can fetch the columns like this: value C1, value C2, value C3. We'll see this, what is this value later. Okay, so this is the syntax. Just remember it. ID, we have to mention the field name. We have to mention the data type for that field. That means the external, whatever the field we are creating in the external table, this is the data type for that as, and this is the data type for uh, the fields present in the stage. Okay, so in stage I have multiple columns, so we represent them as c1, c2, c3 like that. So this is the column 1. Bring the column 1 from this file. Okay, from this file bring the column 1 and store it into the id field. Okay, like that. From this file, bring C2 column and assign it to the name field. Okay, from this file, bring the column 3 and assign it to department name. We'll see this whenever we see the actual files and the external tables, you will easily get it. So the syntax is you have to mention the field in the external table and the data type of that field. Okay, as so which field you are bringing from the external stage. Okay, so that's what we have to mention in the brackets. Okay, like that we can mention the fields. Suppose if there are 10 fields, you don't want to bring on that all the 10 fields. Okay, you can simply put only 3 fields whatever required. You can change even the order. Suppose if you want to bring column 1 5 7, okay, you can put column 1 c1 c5 c7. Like that you can create external tables with only required fields from that stage. Okay, so this is the syntax. We'll see in practical. So now this is important, right? So the files are not stable. So there can be changes to some files. Suppose we have created one stage object, and whenever we execute list command on that stage, what will happen? It will display all the files present. Suppose there are 2 or 3 files today, and tomorrow an extra file can come, or the extra or whatever the file that may be archived. Okay, so that there can be changes to those files, right? Then how external table can sync up with those changes? Okay, so external tables will be refreshed automatically, so we don't need to bother about the refreshing external tables. Suppose the refresh operation synchronizes the metadata with the latest set of associated files in the external stage and path. So suppose latest files came into that external stage path. Okay, so it will automatically this automatic refresh operation synchronizes the metadata. So the external table is storing the metadata, right? So it will automatically synchronize this metadata based on the files present in the external stage location. Okay, suppose new files in the path are added to the table metadata. Okay, suppose if there are new files coming into that path, then those metadata will be added to the table metadata. Okay, external table metadata. Changes to the files if the path are updated in the table metadata. Suppose for the existing file only, suppose there are 10 records in that file, and if you just open and if you do some modifications or if you do some inserts into that existing file, so but automatically this external table will capture those updates, those changes happening to the existing files, and accordingly it will update uh, external table metadata. Okay, so this is automatic operation, we don't need to bother about. And whenever files no longer available, suppose there are some files and I have removed one of the file from the external stage location, what will happen? It will automatically refresh and it will remove that file metadata from the external table. Okay, so files they are not available in the, or they, whenever we remove the files from the external storage, by default, okay, those table metadata will be deleted from that external table. So we don't need to bother about this one. The data will be available, whatever the latest data, whatever the latest files present in the external stage, so we can use them. So external table will take care of that. Okay, so this is about external tables. So I logged into my AWS S3 account. Okay, AWS account, and I'm going to S3 buckets we have. So whenever you see my S3 bucket, we have some multiple folders like CSV, JSON, pipes. We have created these folders long back, right? So I'll be using the files present in the CSV folder. So in the CSV folder, there are already 3 customer files. Okay, I have uploaded 2 more files for our querying purpose. We'll create external tables on these files, and we'll see how we can fetch the data. We can use single SQL query to fetch the data from all these files, and how to analyze this data we'll see today. Okay, so I have uploaded the same files to OneDrive. Even you can fetch that from OneDrive. You can get from OneDrive and you can upload it to your S3 buckets and you can run your queries. Okay, so the files are there in the S3 bucket. So let's see how to create external stages over these files. Okay, so I'll be using this my own database and create a schema if not exist. So I want to store all my stage objects, external stage objects in the external stages schema. Okay, so I have created one schema and I want to store all my file formats in the file format schema, and external tables are different than external stages. So I want to store these external tables, okay, in different schema. I'm creating a schema for that with the name external tables. Let's see my own DB. So three schemas created: external stages, external tables, and file formats. Okay. Now let's see. So there are files available in the AWS, right? So I'm creating one file format object and one stage object, and let's see what are all the files present in that. So I have files and my delimiter is pipe delimiter. So I'm creating a file format object with this. Okay, you are already aware of this, how to create, and the file format object has been created. Now I'm creating a stage object. Okay, so create stage object with integration object and file format object. So uh, we have already this integration with AWS account. So I will be using the same. Okay, and file format object, whatever I just created, I'll be using this. Okay, so let's create the staging object. Okay, stage object has been created, and let's see what are the files available in that stage. Okay, so if you see, there are five files, three customer files and two order files. Okay, so now I'm done with uploading the files into AWS S3 buckets. I'm done with the creating a file format object and stage objects. Now let's build, okay, the external table over those files. So I'm building two external tables, one for customer files and one for order files. Let's see how to do that. Okay, so the syntax is create or replace external table. Okay, I'm providing this uh, as a table name, and I'm storing it in the external table schema just now we have created. So external tables that I'm giving a table name like external table s3 underscore customer. Okay, for the other table I'll be using like external table underscore s3 underscore orders. Okay, these are the two tables I'm going to create. And now let's see how we are creating the columns here. Suppose whenever I open that file, there are six fields in that column. So if you want, I can open. Okay. Okay. So if you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns are available. Okay, customer ID, customer name, customer email ID, customer city, state, and date of birth information is available in the files. Okay, so like that, I am creating six fields here. Customer ID is a number. Okay, and the value is C1. So fetch the column 1. So if we see the file, okay, so the column 1 is customer ID, so I'm bringing that column 1. Okay, and it's a number type. Even here in the file it's a number type. Okay, and I'm assigning it to customer ID. Okay, like the same way I'm assigning column 2 to customer name, column 3 to email ID, column 4 to city, and column 5 to state, and the last column to date of birth. Okay, like that I'm assigning. This step is only important. Okay, so based on the required fields you can build your external table, or you can build, suppose if they are not ordered, okay, in the file, so you can create your own order. Suppose if you want to bring the date of birth to second column, you can bring it. Okay, but you have to assign proper values from the columns. Okay, so like that we have to create the fields here, and as per the syntax we have to mention the location and file format. Even we have to mention the pattern if there are multiple files. Suppose uh, if you are storing only employee files in that folder, then no need to mention this. Okay, anyway only employee files are there or only customer files are there, then no need to pattern. Whatever the files available in that location, it will get. But if you are storing multiple types of files, like suppose customer file and order file, okay, if there are different types of file, then we have to mention pattern like this. Okay, the location is whatever the stage object we have created just now. So we have created this external stages dot my s3 stage, right? So I'm referencing that stage object. Okay, and the pattern is, so there are multiple types of files, customer and orders. So just bring only customer data into this external table. Okay, and file format, whatever the file format object we have created. Okay, I'm mentioning the file format object name. Okay, so let's create this. Okay, external table has been created. Okay, table successfully created. Now let's see the data in the table. So if you see here external tables, here you can see this. It is simple. It is, there is a small difference. If you see normal tables, okay, how the tables look like, we don't. Okay, so here is a simple arrow. Okay, one extra arrow for the external tables. That means this table is not an internal table. This is an external table. So here it is indicating it's a external table. Okay, so let's try to fetch the data from this. Select star from external table, table name. Okay, so now see, this is important. Okay, so how it is storing the data or how it is fetching the data. So whenever I said it will store a value, okay, of variant type, that means it stores the complete record from that file, and from this value it fetches the data into these fields. Okay, that's what I mentioned, right? Suppose this is the value, so here it is storing the entire record. Okay, from here, if you remember, while creating the table, we are mentioning, right, value colon c1. Okay, so from where this value colon c1 is coming, so here. Okay, c1, c2, c3, these are the columns present in that file. So in your external table, always the first field is value field, which stores entire record in variant format, variant data type. Okay, I hope you understood. So whenever we create one external table on any stage object, what it will happen, along with the fields, okay, it will have one more field called value, which stores the entire record into into variant data type column. Okay, so now if you see, these are the fields present in our stage files. Okay, customer ID, name, email, city, state, and date of birth. Along with this, the first field is value, which contains the entire record of variant type. Okay, okay, this is for customers. Now let's create one more file for orders data. Okay, so whenever I open my orders data, okay, so here only there are two fields. Okay, the customer ID and the number of orders placed by that customer. Okay, so there are only two fields, customer ID and number of orders. Okay, that's why in my table definition as well, I am just creating only two fields, customer ID and number of orders, with location the same stage location but different file pattern. Okay, so I'm putting the pattern as orders. That means fetch the data from all the files with the format orders. Okay, so let's create a table, external table. Okay, so table has been created and let's try to fetch the data. Okay, so it is fetching the data like this. Okay, if you open this, it is simply saying only there are two fields, customer ID and number of orders. Okay, like this it will fetch the data from all files. So if you see in our AWS location, so there are multiple files, right? Not only one file. So it fetches the data, it applies union and fetch the data from all the files. Okay, so whenever we are querying customer data, it brings the records from all these three files. Whenever we are querying that external table created an orders, it will fetch the data from both of these files. Okay. So now if you want to describe your external table, if you want to see, you can see this external table in two different ways. Okay. So you can look this as a table and you can look this as a stage object. So how to view this? Okay. So describe external table. Okay. Table name. Describe external table, table name, like this. Describe is like all that on all tables we apply, right? Describe table, table name we apply, right? Like that here I am viewing describe external table, table name, and type equals to column. Okay. I want to see this as a table. Okay. So I have to put simply type equals to column. If I want to see this as a stage, okay, underlying stage file, so we have to mention type equals to stage. Okay. Let's see this describe external table in the column format. Okay. So here it is showing, so what are the columns present in that external table? Value, customer id, name, up to date of birth. There are 7 fields. Okay. And it displays all the column properties, column type. Okay. Null or not null, what is the default, if any default value, primary key. Okay. All the properties it shows. But if we want to look this as a stage object, stage file, how to see? Okay. So I can simply write describe external table, table name, type equals to stage. Okay. So when I do that, so whenever I was discussing about external stages, it stores 27 properties. Do you remember? So what are all those? The stage type, format name, record delimiter, field delimiter, file extension. So this is showing now. This is external table. Still, we are accessing it as a file because it was created on one file, right? Underlying files. So this is fetching the information from that underlying files. Which type of file it is? What is the format of that file? Okay, what is the delimiter of that file? It is showing. So we can view the external tables in both terms. Like we can view that as a table, we can view that as a stage object, or we can view that as a file. In both ways we can see. Okay, good. So now suppose I have created one external table and there are multiple files. So if I want to know the file names, okay, so how to see? So by default, the file name will not appear while selecting the data. But if you want to fetch that file name, so you have to use this metadata. Okay. So metadata dollar file name. Select distinct metadata file name from this external table. Okay. So whenever we run this query, okay. So it is displaying there are 3 distinct files. So if you don't use this distinct, okay, what it will show? Okay, what it will show? It will if there are 100 records in the external table, it will display 100 times. Okay. Suppose if you want to understand in more detail, okay, so let's see, this is a table. Metadata file name comma t dot star. So I want to fetch the file name along with all the fields present in this table. Okay, let's see. So now you see, so it is displaying the file name as well. Okay, displaying the file name and the value inside that file and the fields. Okay, so if you see here, so above the these records are from customer orders data 2021 file, and if you see these records are from orders data 2022 file. Different files you can see here. Okay, so by using metadata file name, okay, by using metadata file name, you can see from which file that record is coming. Okay, I hope you understood. And so next thing is, suppose we are done with the object creation. We have created external tables over multiple files. Now this is our actual requirement. I want to analyze the data. Okay, how to analyze the data? Suppose my requirement is I want to get the list of customers who placed more than 10 orders. Okay, so we have orders data of customers, right? Now I want a list of customers. Okay, so who placed more than 10 orders. So how we can see? Okay, so I can combine these tables and I can see. Suppose here only I'm fetching the customer ID and customer order. So only orders table is enough. Suppose if I want to fetch the customer name and all those details. Okay, so orders information is available in the orders table. Okay, table customer information is available in the customer files. So if you don't create external tables, you cannot combine those both files, right? But if you create, okay, external tables, now you can query them. So what I'm doing here, select customer ID, okay, and a sum of orders. So if you know some little SQL, this is the summary function I am using. I'm calculating the sum, okay, sum of the number of orders. Like we have group by functions like sum, minimum, maximum, average, okay, like that, right? So I want to calculate for each customer how many number of orders he is placing. I want to calculate that, okay. So customer ID and sum of orders from this sectional table customer, and I'm joining this sectional table with another sectional table, orders table, and the customer ID. Okay, so inner join orders table and the customer ID and group by. So for each customer, I want to know, right? So that's why I'm putting a group by customer ID having sum greater than 10. Okay, that means I want to display only the list of customers who placed more than 10 orders. Okay, now let's execute this query. It's simple SQL query. If you know little SQL, you can easily form your queries. Now it is showing me. Okay, so there are total 8 customers who placed more than 10 orders. So now you can, by looking at the files, can you tell this information? Is it possible? If we want to analyze the data before storing it into our Snowflake tables, if I want to analyze data like this, is it possible by looking at files? No. That's why we go for external stages. Okay. So we built the external stages, even though the table is not storing the data, but it's only containing the metadata. By using that, we are fetching the data from underlying files. Okay, suppose I have another requirement, get the list of customers who did not place any order. Okay, so who did not place any order, that means sum should be 0. Okay, so if I simply run this query, it will display all the customers who did not place any orders as of today. So there are 5 customers who did not place any orders. Okay, like that, based on the requirement of end user or based on our requirement, while doing the analysis, we can form SQL queries like we select the data from actual tables. So now if you see, these are like actual tables only. Okay, but at the runtime, they are fetching the data from underlying files. Okay, I hope you are understanding. Once after creation of external tables, you can use them like tables only. You can perform any kind of operations. That means only select or join or filter like this, like that only. You cannot perform DML operations. That means you cannot insert data, delete data, and update data to external tables. Okay. So that is how we analyze the data based on the requirements. Now, suppose I have a requirement to share this data with another customer, another user. Okay. So I want to share this data with another user. How to share? Okay. So we know, right? If we want to share the data, we can create secure views. Okay. And share that view with that user. So we have that facility here. Even we can create secure views and materialized views over the external tables. Okay, that means whenever the user fire that query, okay, whenever he tries to view the data in that view, whenever he runs this query, it will go to this external table, and external table will go to that underlying files, and it will fetch the data at runtime. Okay, suppose I have a I want to create one secure view and one materialized view over the external tables we just had created. Okay, how to do that? Let's see. Suppose I want to store all my views in one schema called my views. Okay, so I'm creating that schema. Okay, and I'm creating my view like this, secure view. I'm not creating normal view. We can create normal views also, but let's create a secure view. Okay, create or replace secure view. Okay, just provide the username, view name, create or replace view, create or replace secure view, view name as. Okay, and you just put that SQL query. Okay, whatever we just written. So if this is my requirement, if I want to see all the customer details who placed more than 10 orders. Okay, if I want to see that information, and if I want to share this information with another user, okay, I can form a SQL query like this, and I'll put this in the view with the name secure view underscore et underscore customer. So let's execute this. So view has been created. Let's see my views. So where is my views? Okay. So here if you see secure view has been created over the external table. Now whenever the user or whenever we run this query, okay, what will happen? It will fetch the data from that external table. That means it will fetch the data from those underlying external stages. Okay, I hope you are understanding. So here, even though I'm fetching from the customer, this view has been created with only two columns, customer ID and total orders. That's why when I am running this query, it is displaying me only two records here. Okay, customer ID and the total number of orders. Okay, like this we can build views on external tables as well. Okay, and how to create a materialized view? It's simple. So instead of secure keyword, we use materialized view. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we can create materialized views over this table, and you know, right, for materialized views there are some limitations. You cannot create materialized views on multiple tables, so you can create only on one table, but you can put some where class, or you can put some group by functions. Okay, so I'm creating a materialized view over the customer table. Okay, and the requirement is I want to see only Victoria customers. I don't want to see the data, or I don't want to share the all the data of all states. Okay, I want to share only the data of Victoria state. That's why I'm mentioning the condition select star from this customer table where state equals to Victoria. Okay, so let's create a view. So the view has been created, and let's see here. Okay, so here you can see materialized view et underscore customer. I already told you, right? So we can by using this icon itself, we can identify which type of table or which type of view it is. So for secure views, it will be a lock symbol. For materialized views, it will display with M symbol. Okay, so now we have created a materialized view. Now let's see. Okay, the data inside that materialized view. Okay, so if you see, so it is displaying the data, and if you see the state, only Victoria customers it is displaying. There are 12 customers from Victoria state, and it is displaying all the details. Okay. Now, if we want to share this materialized views with other roles or other users, by we can simply share by using creating shared objects. Okay. So this is about external table, how we create external table, okay, how we fetch the data from external table, how we can join multiple tables, multiple external tables, and fetch the data based on our requirements, and how we can build views on the external tables. Okay, this is very simple. Okay, only this creation part is a bit new, right? So while creating the table, we just mention for a normal table, we just mention the table name, uh, create table name, then field and the data type. But along with the field and data type, we simply have to mention like this. Okay, from which from file which field you have to assign to this field in the table. This mapping we have to do while creating the table. Okay.